about the difference between secularism and secularization. What's the difference? And this is just going to be a short session. We will think about it, our initial thoughts. To start with, what I think is secularism, this much is obvious. Secularism is a set of ideas, whatever those ideas, which it's a concept, obviously, which refers to a set of ideas. And on the face of it, there can be different ideas about what secularism is, both historically as well as horizontally. So that is secularism. And generally secularism, we don't want to get into what actually secularism is, but I just want to focus on this distinction between secularism and secularization. So secularism is a concept which consists in a set of ideas ideology, that can be even ideologies, and there can be variation in understanding what those set of ideas are. And that variation can be historical. So, for example, we might be able to say that, there is a concept of secularism in Christianity, for example, with Augustine, for example. But that secularism might be, in its positive content, different from the secularism of Luther, for example, or secularism of John Locke, for example. So secularism is a set of ideas, can be an ideology, but this set of ideas can change historically as well as horizontally. So even today, for example, different people can have different views about what secularism is, but all those people can actually agree on that it is a concept, it is a set of ideas, it can be an ideology as well. Okay, now what is secularization then? On the other hand, secularization is not a set of ideas. I mean, you can have a set of ideas about what secularization is, but secularization itself is, as far as I understand it anyway, is a process. It's a process. So you can have different views about what this process is, but you can still agree that secularization is a process. It's not a set of ideas in that way. And also, you can say it's a process. It can be a historical process, and it can be a process within a particular historical time. So, for example, today, So you can understand this process at a certain point in time. So in that sense, it would be a horizontal process, and maybe vertically within that horizontality in terms of the depth. But on the other hand, you can understand process which uh, plans out over time. So that would be a historical process. So you can understand secularization as a process, and then this process you can understand it historically, that is happening over time, and you can also understand it happening at the present moment, not or happening within a specific span of time, for example, happening in these 10 years or 20 years. And that process is more like a horizontal process, but within that horizontality, that might have a verticality in the sense that it might be how deeper that process is, how deep it is going, etc. Okay, so that's the first distinction between secularism and secularization. Now, okay, it's a process, but there can be many types of processes. Um, so, which type of process is? Firstly, it's a process which relates to a society. It happens within a society or within societies. So, it's a process which a society goes through. Obviously, people within it would also go through that, but they would be the object of that. But the main object or main receiver of the process of secularization is society itself, that is, its practices, its rituals, its institutions, etc. And obviously, then people, as far as they constitute a society, they are also they also go through that process, but it's not a process of an individual uh, per se, a process which an individual goes through. So a person might go through, change in his view, but and become secular, for example, but we don't define it as secularization. Secularization is a process which is more related to society. Yes, you can say that a person became secular through that process of secularization. So a person might be the receiver of the effect of that process, but the process is primarily related to a society and not to the individual. Um, and in that sense, it's a social process. So in a sense, we can say that it is a type of socialization or a subspecies of socialization. So secularization is a process which a society goes through, and is a species or it's a type of socialization. So secularization is a type of socialization. Uh, do I have any other thing to say about that? I think that gives us some grip on the difference between secularism and secularization, even without saying a word about what secularism is and what secularization actually consists in. We try to distinguish between secularism and secularization. And in a sense, we can say that, secularization is the process through which secularism become, embodied in a society, for example. So that would be the next step. But I think the basic distinction between secularism and secularization is a bit clearer. Okay, I'll stop here. Thank you.